Hey pack leaders, this is Hien with Friends of Irony, protecting families by protecting the pack. Now today we're going to do an update on the auto tuning bot. It's pretty much working, and I wanted to first start off by giving you an explanation of the algorithm and how it works. Now I brought this strategy over from when I was doing aerospace engineering, solving trajectories when we were launching launch vehicles into space. Now it was more of a called a shooting method because as we were launching into space, um, usually we're just guessing a lot of the times. Even though we did our best to kind of analyze and set it up properly with our best engineering guess, if we didn't guess properly, it would then be off. So sometimes we'll aim and sweep a bunch of variables, and then eventually, once it lands on the green, when I say green, it's the analogy of a golf course. That once we you know use the wood driver and drive that golf ball or that launch vehicle, and it lands on the green, uh, the software tool will then put it into the hole and solve the trajectory. Okay, and it can actually get down to a very finite fidelity of that of the for the independent variables. And so just that, like the same way of that, we're also using the driver to make a swing with our initial guess on the Mad Hatter. It needs to swing good enough to then get a positive green ROI. I think you can also do it with the negative, but as long as it has some kind of ROI, it'll probably drive it. Okay, so if you can let us get something working and preferably a green ROI, which means it's positive, uh, the tool that I have right now will then drive it further and further uh, greener. Okay. Now there's no equation to solve in bot training. What we want is the higher ROI, and so there really is no hole to put it into other than closer to the maximum ROI that we can get. I guess infinity would be ideal, but it is we'll get closer to infinity as much as we can in a smaller level. Okay. So what we do is, like with all the independent variables, what we do is we'll perturb the independent variable by 10% on positive direction, and then 10% on a negative direction. Okay, and then we'll run the back test. So we'll run it with a 10% change. Uh, did that back test give us a good result? If it did, we'll keep that variable and make that the center one, and then we'll test the negative variable in the independent variable. Did that give a good result? Well, not really. The positive did. We'll keep the positive. We'll scrap the negative. Then we go to the second independent variable. Did the positive give us a good result? Yes. Well, then we'll keep that. Make that the center. Did the negative get a good result? An even better result, actually. We'll keep the negative and scrap the old one. So now we have that one, this one, and then the third one. Did the positive get a good result? No. Scrap it. The negative gave a good result. No. Scrap that too. We'll keep the original result. And so it goes through and cycles through all 13 variables of the Mad Hatter. And then after it's done, it'll go back up to the front again, the top again. And it's gonna say, hey, we moved it positive 10%. Let's move another 10%. Did that still improve it? Yes. Let's keep that further one. Bring it back in. Let's test on the negative side. Did that improve it? No, that just backtracked us. Let's put it back. Let's scrap that one. Second variable, well, we push it positive, it improved it. Let's push another 10%, right? So then, did that improve it more? Yes, it still continued. And we'll keep that negative. Well, it kind of just went reverted back, so we'll scrap that too. Third variable, well, nothing changed, but now that we moved these two, the positive actually changed again, and it improved it. Great, we'll take that one now. Does the same thing, cycles through until all 13 variables doesn't change at all after perturbing positive, negative all the way down. Then we move on to the next moving average type of thing. So we started where I felt that changing moving average types, which is like the DEMA, the TREMA, the WMA, the weighted moving average, double exponential moving average, the triple exponential moving average, switching them all around, I think is just kind of changing the way the platform is. So what we do is we'll start at the very bottom, which is the weighted moving average, find the best setting. Once we can't find any more that's better, we'll move on to the next moving average, TREMA, find the best setting, and then TEMA, find the best setting, and then if that's the best we can do, we'll move on until we do all the moving averages. You have a table of all the moving averages, and then we're going to compare and say, hey, out of all these moving averages, the best settings that we can find, which one has the best ROI? That's the one we're going to use, and that's one that we're going to run. Okay. Now we're going to be doing on the 2 week one for now. Now as you solve this, just like the driver, if you find it 2 weeks, then from the best one you can then move it down to 1 week, find the best one for 1 week, and move it closer towards 2 hours. If you already have something that you can drive on the green with 2 hours, then you can start with 2 hours. Then you can be able to find the setting that will work best for 2 hours. Okay, and that's the idea. If you're going to be day trading, you're going to be cycling through every 2 hours, then that may be it. So let's go ahead and switch over and show you how it works, and I'll walk through on it happening on the software. Okay, so you log into this just like you would any other Chrome browser. You see the IP address here. It kind of basically acts like a browser. Now the stuff that you see on the right side is what you'll see. The stuff on the left side is for developers only, so you won't see that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you all the way to the user interface here. Just real quick, looking over here, what I said was like you can perturb it by 10%, which is right here. I'll start with that, and I'll autofill everything. Okay. Now, if you're an avid trader and you know what MACD is supposed to move at, maybe it can move at 5%. Then you can then change 5% here for MACD, save and update the settings, and it'll be, it'll be done there. Now you think Bollinger Japan only moves between 1 and 3, 10% might be too high, maybe 1% on all the Bollinger Bands might make more sense. You can do that, save the settings, and go from there. Okay, I'm just gonna autofill back everything back to 10% so that it's good to go. And then the back test range, you can go from 2 weeks to 2 hours. I'm gonna start at 2 weeks. And once it's all set up, you then want to move over to your custom bot that you want to work on. Okay, so I've been working on the ETC. I haven't ran it through completely yet because I've just kind of been playing with it. So let me go to ETC right now. Where is it? Moving up, moving up, moving up. Alright, there it is. Okay. Alright, so I got ETC going. As soon as that's done, go ahead and click the start. I already ran it worth 25%. This was from another test, so let's go ahead and start the optimization. It's going to run a first initial back test with the WMA moving average, and I'll switch that to 2 weeks. It should, yep. And once it's gathered all the data for the WMA, which is 29%, it'll then start from that point on. So now it's going to start on the first variable, do a 1% positive change and a 10% positive change, which is then 0.09. That's on the negative side, and a 1.1, I believe, or 0.11. Run the back test. Did it help? No. Did it? If it did, it'll keep it. If not, it'll revert to original and stick with 0.1. Okay. And then once it's done with that, it'll then go to the next one. The minimum price change to sell, 2.2, changed down to 2.43. What was it? Well, maybe it was at 2.7. So 2.43 is on the negative end, and then 2.9 was on the positive end. If it goes to that, it picks out the best one. If any changes, if it helped it, if it did, it'll keep it. If not, it'll revert back to the original. Okay. For stop loss, it doesn't handle zeros right now. After this, I will kind of fix it. But 0 times a 10% change is still 0, so that's why nothing happens on stop loss. Well, I'm concerning making it just it was 0 to equal the just 0.1 or 10%, so that it can actually do a positive 0.1 and negative 0.1. Now, of course, stop loss doesn't do negative, so it'll probably just revert back to 0 or a positive 0.1. So now it's moving on to the Bollinger Band length. Oh, and actually down to dev up now. So 1.98. It's changing that, testing both sides. Did it improve it? Yes, no. It'll then keep and whatnot. Okay, so now it's on dev down, and so on. 2.9.5. So it looks like it's kind of changing those variables. Let me scroll down a little bit so you can see the rest of it working. See here. Flash is pretty quick. Now I made a flash so that I can see it happening. It makes me feel comfortable when things are moving. Of course, it does take a little bit of resources to flash back and forth and see things going. Or I could leave it just on the ROI screen and just kind of wait for the ROI to change, so you don't see it flashing back and forth. But it gives me a sense of security that the bot is doing what it's supposed to do as it's moving down each variable, changing things. makes me happy. Alright, so now it's changing the RSI and then eventually the MACD. Okay, so as it goes, I'll probably let this run for a couple of hours and I'll report back tomorrow on the results. I may or may not get to the result depending on if I run into errors and bugs. So if I do run into some errors and bugs before reporting, I'll probably just stop it and fix it until I feel like, hey, you know what, I think I got to where it needs to be, and then I'll run it all the way through. So probably most likely by Monday, when I release it, I should probably have something that's working all the way through, confidently. At least I would feel confidently on. But that's where we're at for now. For a 10% change, it's just kind of slowly figuring out what settings needs to be. Okay, so there it is, guys. Hope you're excited. Um, it is what it is, and we'll see how it goes. It's still Wednesday. Wow, Wednesday already. So 2 more days, 5 more days actually for me to work on this, and then I'll deliver the best I got to my team. So if you guys are interested in getting your hands on the software, uh, definitely click the link below. Get onto a private VIP group, and then start using it. Report back to me on any feature requests that you might have, and then we'll go from there. All right, thank you, and we'll have a good one.